What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nacho Wrestling, and as you can tell by the thumbnail and title of this video, we are going to be talking about the top babyface in the WWE, Cody Rhodes, or as a lot of the mainstream WWE fans know him as and love to yell at him, Cody effing Rhodes. But we're not going to be taking a look at Cody Rhodes in WWE. No, we're not doing that. Today we are going to be getting in our time machines, our DeLoreans, our Doctor Who telephone box, whatever it's called, and we're going to be taking a trip back to 2020, 2021, really before 2022, like February of 2022 to be specific. We're going and looking at Cody Rhodes in AEW, and we're looking at what if Cody Rhodes turned heel in AEW. I think a lot of times when wrestling fans ask questions about, hey, like, what if this happened? What if that happened? You know, it always starts with what if. And I think that's really interesting because, like the Marvel stuff, it's cool to look at an endless realm of possibilities of what happens if this doesn't happen, or what happens if this happens. You know what I mean? So today we're going to be taking a look at what if Cody Rhodes turned heel in AEW. Would it have changed the landscape of wrestling as we know it today all that much? Or would have it just kind of delayed everything back like a year or so? Let's find out, and let's jump into the video. But before that, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to stay up to date on all things Nacho Wrestling. And if this is your first time watching a Nacho Wrestling video, why don't you consider hitting the subscribe button? I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers, and your help would be greatly appreciated. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. First things first is to go over how the turn would happen. I think the biggest thing is that Cody Rhodes would not randomly just get the TNT title in the TNT title tournament and everything like that, and it be an obvious secondary prize for him since he booked himself out of the world title picture. It would be something more akin to, say, Jon Moxley has ran through all the competition. He's still champion up until this point, and he doesn't know who to fight. And he wants to fight someone that has made it possible for him to hold that championship, aka one of the founding members of AEW, one of the founding fathers of AEW. He doesn't want to fight the Young Bucks because, you know, they're a tag team. Why would he want to fight a tag team? He's the singles champion. He doesn't want to fight Kenny Omega just, you know, because Kenny Omega is tag team champions at this point, let's just say hypothetically still, with Hangman Page. So, and that's one thing I want to mention real quick, is that my timeline is sort of wishy-washy, I guess, however you want to look at that. I'm not necessarily trying to fit it in perfectly into, like, the timeline sequential AEW. So, like, Cody's not just going to take the place of someone's story, so to speak. He is, but he isn't. If that makes sense, and I'll talk about that when I get there. But the turn would be as simple as Cody's offered a match by Jon Moxley. Tony Khan has sanctioned it. Tony Khan says, it's okay, this one time. You know, the world champion wants to fight you, Cody. He's handpicked you. You know, there's nothing we can do about it. Just have the match. You know, we know that you said you'd never challenge for it ever again, no matter who the champion was. But just do it. And he does it. And he cheats to win. And he was very reluctant about it up until the point, you know, he was like, oh no, I can't. Oh no, gosh. Guys, no, it shouldn't be anybody but me. Why me? Why little old Cody Rhodes? I just want to be the businessman. No. It was all for naught. He was lying, he was cheating, he was stealing. Him and Brandy, of course Brandy's out there helping him. And it's sort of the Don Callis, Kenny Omega shocking twist that they did on Jon Moxley, but instead it's a husband and wife turning heel on the company they helped start. I think that's kind of interesting. Would play out pretty cool, I think, with how I have it mapped out so far. But going forward, a lot of the like more minor feuds that Kenny had during his belt collector run copy and paste those for Cody. So like that triple threat with Pac and Orange Cassidy, honestly, even the Christian Cage stuff, you could say Cody did that. Like, it's fine. But the overarching main story of like Hangman and Kenny, it's not Hangman and Cody this time. And we'll go over who that is in a second. But that's kind of what I see the turn being. Is essentially at Winter is Coming 2021. Cody, does the thing. Turns heel. Or Winter is Coming 2020. One of those years. He does the thing. He turns heel. I mean, it would be pretty shocking. He always... And, of course, Cody was always of the belief, and still is of the belief, that wrestling is on a spectrum. You don't have to be just a straight good guy or just a straight bad guy anymore. You can be sort of a weird meld in between, or slightly leaning towards one side more than the other. I think Cody's trying to make some sort of weird political analogy with the heel-face dynamic in wrestling, but that's neither here nor there right now. Let's move on to talking about what Cody's character arc would look like as a heel in AEW. As I previously mentioned, Cody's run would be pretty much in place, or the same spot that Kenny's run took place in this timeline. So if you want, you could have Kenny be the next world champion after Cody. You could have it be Hangman. You could have it be Eddie Kingston. You could have it be whoever you want it to be. You could have it be Jon Moxley again, Chris Jericho again. Doesn't matter. Take your pick of the litter. But I have my person in mind, and again, just to plant the seeds of making sure that you people still watch, please keep watching to find out who I have as the person to dethrone heel Cody Rhodes. Cody's gimmick, however, would be something a bit more interesting, I think, and I think it would be something akin to 2019 Seth Rollins. He's of this belief that what he's doing is right. The fans are against him for all the wrong reasons. They're cheering the wrong horse. They're taking the wrong sides. Everything like that. And Cody would essentially fill that same role, occupy that same role. He'd come out every Wednesday and give a rah-rah speech to the crowd and to the roster about how, him as champion is going to usher in a new era for the company. And have him actually go do stuff that an AEW champion hadn't done yet, like Jericho or Mox at this point in the timeline. Like, have him go on talk shows, go on TV, do these things, these cross-promotional things, these very WWE-esque things. Have him do that. Have him essentially do the Jericho Appreciation Society, like, sports entertainer gimmick, but, like, less sports entertainy and more just like, cross-promotional gimmick, sort of speak. His other big major point would be that he wanted to save AEW from what it was obviously becoming, a pastiche of WCW 2000 and TNA in 2009, a breeding ground for ex-WWE guys who couldn't cut it in the company anymore. Of course, the irony there being Cody himself is an ex-WWE guy, albeit just one that didn't have the same success as a Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, or a Chris Jericho. So the validity is there in one way, but then in another way, it's like, dude, you also worked for the company. Like, shut the fuck up. So him being a heel is apropos. So I think it all works out. I don't think I need to really explain more than that. Very simple gimmick. Inevitably, he would have a faction around him. This would be the Nightmare Factory. Take your pick as to who's in this faction with him. Pick your favorite mid-carders from AEW in like the not mid-20s. Well, early 20s, I guess. 2020 and 2021. Put them in the faction. No MJF, though. That's my one caveat. Save MJF for later. But other than that, you have your pick of the litter again. Next up, we have the stories. I mentioned that a lot of the stories that Kenny had during his belt collector run would be given to Cody, like the triple threat or the stuff with Christian Cage. But the overarching story, the main story, what is that? I think it's the whole idea that Cody is trying to save AEW from becoming what it is or isn't, however you want to look at that. save AEW from what it is becoming, essentially. Save it from becoming WWE Light. Save it from becoming this, watered down product that does a bunch of cross promotional stuff with movies and TV shows and everything like that. But Cody would be going and advertising the product on TV shows like, talk shows and everything like that. Or he would be going and doing movies and, game shows and everything like that, advertising AEW the same way WWE gets advertising on all their other talk shows and sporting shows and everything like that. So I think the biggest thing is that Cody would be very hypocritical of himself and very contradictory of himself. And you could see him trying to jump back and forth between, oh, well, say one thing, but then I kind of apply to that one thing. Now I got to retract my steps, everything like that. But there can only be one person to defeat Cody Rhodes for the title. And who is it? I've been saving it. I've been gassing it up all video. And of course, there's only one name that I would come up with. One man. One GOAT that could do it. Phil Brooks, CM Punk. That's right, motherfuckers. It's not Bryan Danielson. Get some. Oh! Here we are at the final act. Cody is now AEW World Champion. He's doing the same thing CM Punk did back in 2011. He's got the title. His contract's up at the end of 2021. He could leave. He could very much leave with the AEW World title and go who knows where. New Japan, CMLL, AAA, WWE. Like, he could go wherever with that thing. And there's only one guy to stop him. Guy who did it to WWE back in 2011, like I just said. CM Punk is in AEW, and he would be fast-tracked a lot quicker to the world title scene than in the original timeline that we live in. Of course, he would come in and immediately see what Cody is doing and be like, this ain't cool, this ain't cool. He has a couple tune-up matches, gets warmed up, immediately calls out Cody, says, Cody, it's time that we get this out of the way right now. What you're doing is not what this company stands for. And I don't know, hindsight being what it is, should CM Punk really be the guy to do this? No. No, absolutely not. But also, it's probably a fun story, I think. Cody and Punk also just seem like they really want to work together right now in 2025. So I think they were always destined to work together. So why not get them to work together back in 2021, 2022? Kind of just feeds everything you want now, but earlier. So now we don't need it in 2025. You're welcome. The two would finally meet in the ring at Double or Nothing 2022. That's right, Cody Rhodes is in AEW a little bit longer in this timeline than normal. He hasn't necessarily signed an extension, but he has assured us every time he's out there on TV that he is getting paid per appearance by Tony Khan. So he's out there at Double or Nothing. He's wrestling Punk. And Cody's a little bit younger, but he's getting out-wrestled and outclassed by the vet Punk. Punk would end up winning, becoming the first ever person to win the WWE, AEW, and Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship belts. Something that hasn't necessarily been done yet in this timeline, I think. Punk has done it in this timeline for legit. Cody. No. Cody never had the AEW one either. He had the Ring of Honor, though. And the wow. Is Punk still the only one? I don't know, folks. Of course, the immediate aftermath would be Cody's loss. Cody's sitting there dejected in the ring. He's realized now he has no bargaining chip. He has nothing to use as leverage for re-signing with AEW or signing with a new company. But it's a little too late for that. The Nightmare Factory, his own people, his own group, his own posse has circled the ring. He's cornered on every side. The lights go down, the lights come back up, and a man is standing there with a white devil mask on. That's right, it's MJF, here to claim the Nightmare Factory for himself, take it from Cody, create the pinnacle, a new pinnacle, a different pinnacle, and that would be the end of Cody Rhodes in AEW in this timeline. So what would wrestling look like today? Well, I think everything would have just shifted a year, if you're asking me personally. I think Cody Rhodes would have ended up in in WWE by roughly about, I don't know, the end of 2022 maybe. So if he, well, Double or Nothing is around the summertime. If he was legitimately working like a per appearance deal and then didn't have a 90-day no compete clause and everything, and his last date was Double or Nothing, I could see him doing like a sort of surprise debut at SummerSlam in an open challenge setting similar to Seth Rollins at Mania 38 that same year. That all being said, I do think Cody Rhodes was always inevitably going back to WWE, whether it was immediately after the successful run he had when Ring of Honor and New Japan. If like All In was a success and that was it, he would have gotten a contract with them and just been a mid-carder. But I think the success of AEW and his personal success as a businessman really helped lend credence to him getting a major stepping stone and a major platform in WWE as we see today. I think him being a heel in AEW before coming back might have even amplified that a little more, and Vince especially would have seen like, oh, this guy can work both heel and baby. Like, all right, he's really good. Like he can do both sides of the ball essentially. Rocket strap him. And obviously there's more stuff to it than that, but I think at the end of the day, Cody was always going home. It's where his fucking dad, his dad literally created the fucking developmental company. Like, come on. Like, it's just not fair. It's not fair. Also, biggest thing, the TNT Championship would totally not be a thing today if Cody Rhodes turned heel and inevitably won the world title instead of like just getting the TNT title handed to him. And I think that would be for the better. Just saying. Let me know what you guys thought about this video down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys also think Cody Rhodes' heel run in AEW would have looked like if it ever happened. Or do you think that weird, like, pseudo-racist MAGA gimmick he did against Anthony Ogogo as a British black guy, was that a heel gimmick? Who knows? Like I said, let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to stay up to date on all things Nacho Wrestling, and I will see you guys next time.